I sat in the armchair by the window, gently rocking my 8-month-old daughter Ellie in my arms. Outside, the Phoenix sky blazed with sunlight, and inside me, a pure happiness swelled. I whispered softly, like a secret promise. "Mommy will always protect you, Ellie." As a neonatal nurse at Valley Children's Hospital, I, Brooklyn Taylor, knew better than anyone the invisible threats that could endanger a fragile life. My world revolved around two things: my little family and caring for vulnerable newborns. By my side was my husband, Adam, an environmental consultant, always patient and warm, especially since Ellie's arrival. Our small house in the suburbs of Scottsdale, with a backyard filled with bougainvillea, was the home I had always dreamed of. The coffee machine whirred in the kitchen, followed by Adam's soft humming. I smiled. Clumsy as he could be, he always tried his best as a father. If there was one thing that weighed on me, it was his side of the family, especially his mother Gloria. "Rook, my mom just called," Adam said as he entered, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "She wants to come by this afternoon." I tightened my hold on Ellie. Gloria's name always gave me a vague sense of unease. On the surface, she was always polite, cheerful, but beneath that glossy exterior was something cold I couldn't quite name. The handmade gifts she often brought, misshapen knit hats or rough wooden toys, made my skin crawl every time I touched them. "All right," I sighed. "You remember she never comes alone. Is Emmy coming too?" Adam nodded with a strained smile. "Emmy's coming, as usual." I pressed my lips together, trying to hold back the rising heaviness. Emmy, Adam's sister, always backed Gloria unconditionally and made no effort to hide her disdain for me. The snide remarks, the sideways glances, always when Adam wasn't looking. "They probably just want to play with Ellie for a bit," Adam tried to reassure me. I nodded, not wanting to stir tension, but in my gut, I knew this visit wouldn't be so simple. At exactly 3 in the afternoon, the doorbell rang. I carried Ellie to the door and opened it, forcing the most polite smile I could muster. "Brooklyn, she's just darling," Gloria beamed, her eyes lighting up at the sight of Ellie. Emmy stood behind her, wearing that familiar, smug smile. She was dressed in a designer dress and heels that easily cost half my monthly paycheck. "Hi, everyone," I said, stepping aside to let them in. Adam came from the living room and quickly embraced his mother and sister. After a round of pleasantries, Gloria pulled a large gift from her handbag, wrapped in soft pink paper. "I made something special for Ellie," she said, pride glowing in her voice. "A beautiful baby blanket." I took the package, my smile stiffening. As I peeled back the wrapping, a cream-colored blanket emerged, soft, yet with oddly rough patches on its surface, almost like dried soap residue. A sharp odor brushed past my nose, making me frown. "Interesting fabric choice," Emmy muttered, half joking, her eyes narrowing at me with quiet judgment. I could feel their gaze, probing, waiting to see my reaction. "It's lovely, thank you," I managed, slipping the blanket into Adam's hand so he could put it away. "Hope Ellie sleeps well in her grandma's handmade blanket," Gloria said with a smile. But I didn't miss the flicker in her eyes. All afternoon I noticed Gloria glancing toward the blanket, as if waiting for something. I discreetly moved it to the far corner of the living room, claiming Ellie preferred her green organic one. Once the door closed behind Gloria and Emmy, I sank into the chair, feeling like I had just survived an invisible battle. My eyes drifted to the blanket, now tucked in the corner like a lingering stain. I walked over and picked it up carefully. The odor hit me instantly, stronger now. The texture was oddly coarse, the stitches crooked, the edges frayed like they'd once been soaked and left to dry badly. I turned it inside out, looking for tags or labels, but only found faint stains that daylight couldn't fully reveal. There was no way Ellie was touching this thing. I folded it up and shoved it deep into the bottom drawer in our bedroom, the one where we kept things we didn't use. "We'll only bring it out when Gloria visits," I muttered, clenching my fist for comfort. The next week felt normal. I cared for Ellie, worked my shifts at the hospital, and Adam stayed busy with his environmental project on the outskirts of Phoenix. But the uneasy feeling wouldn't go away. Gloria started calling almost every day. "Brooklyn, does Ellie like the blanket?" Her voice was syrupy sweet but laced with something sharper. "She's getting used to her organic cotton ones," I replied vaguely, dodging the question. "She'll come to love what her grandma made just for her," Gloria insisted, making me shiver. Each call felt like a paper cut to the fragile piece I was holding onto. One evening, as I was getting ready for my night shift, Adam walked in holding Ellie's pajamas. "I'll handle bedtime tonight. You go and do your thing." I hugged them both, trying to calm a gnawing feeling. "Make sure you use the green blanket," I said. "Not the one from your mom." Adam raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Got it, Brooklyn." I left the house with unease creeping through me, but I told myself I was just being paranoid. At midnight, as I was reviewing patient files, my phone buzzed. A message from Adam. "Ellie spit up on the blanket. I had to grab a different one. Using the old blanket from the closet. She's asleep now, don't worry." My heart dropped. The old blanket from the closet? Could it? Panic set in. I called him, but he didn't answer. Probably asleep with Ellie. I checked the clock. 3 more hours until my shift ended. Every minute felt like torture. When I got home at sunrise, I didn't even change. I rushed straight to Ellie's room. She was still fast asleep, her face peaceful against her white mattress. But as I gently pulled back the blanket covering her, a chill ran through me. It was Gloria's blanket. The strange smell was now overpowering, like something had been awakened. I quickly picked Ellie up and checked her all over, searching for anything off. Thankfully, aside from her flushed cheeks from deep sleep, she looked fine. I ran to the laundry room and threw the blanket into the machine. Adam, now awake, followed me. "Brooklyn, what's going on?" he asked, confused. "That was your mom's blanket, Adam," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I thought it was just some old one. I couldn't find the green one." I bit my lip, trying to hold back tears. Adam rushed over and opened the washing machine lid to check the blanket before the cycle started. And then we both froze. As water soaked through the fabric, faint markings began to emerge. A red triangle logo, the word biohazard repeated across it, and several cold clinical tracking codes. Like a warning. Adam stepped back, his hands trembling violently. "Oh my God, Brooklyn, this is medical waste." I clutched Ellie tighter, the blood in my veins turning to ice. The blanket Gloria gave us wasn't just a poorly made gift, it was medical waste, something that should have been destroyed. A wave of fury and panic surged in my chest. I looked at Adam, my voice hoarse. "We need to get Ellie checked right now." He nodded, eyes brimming with tears. There was no more doubt. What Gloria brought into our home wasn't just an insult. It might have put our daughter in danger. I held Ellie close as Adam started the SUV and sped out of our quiet neighborhood. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat loud and heavy like an alarm bell. The image of that glaring red biohazard logo haunted my mind, sending a deep chill through me. Valley Children's Hospital came into view, the blue neon lights flickering in the early morning haze. I ran into the emergency wing with Ellie in my arms, while Adam quickly explained the situation to the receptionist. Once they realized I was also hospital staff, the team rushed Ellie into a specialized exam room. Dr. Janet, a close colleague of mine, appeared moments later. Her brow furrowed as she listened to what I said, every word cutting deeper than the last. "Brooklyn, we'll start a full assessment on Ellie right away," she said, her expression grave. "The exposure window might be short, but we can't take any chances." I gripped Ellie's hand as the nurses drew blood and ran rapid tests. She cried out as the needle pricked her skin while I swallowed my tears, the salty sting at the corners of my mouth unbearable. Adam paced outside the hallway like a caged animal. When I stepped out, he rushed to me and grabbed my hand. "How serious do you think this could be?" he asked, voice cracking. I shook my head, my throat tight. "We have to wait for the results." "But Adam," I looked him in the eyes, firm now, "you need to call your mother. Right now." He nodded and pulled out his phone. I stood beside him as he dialed, each ring cutting through the air like a blade. The call connected. About the blanket. Where are you?" Adam tried to keep his voice steady, but I saw his fingers trembling. I couldn't hear what she said, but Adam's grip on the phone tightened, his face going pale. "Okay, we need to talk, now." He hung up and turned to me. "She's at home. Emmy's there too. They think this is just a small issue." Rage surged through me like a storm. A small issue? I nearly screamed. Just then Janet came out of the exam room. Good news. Ellie shows no signs of infection or fever, she said, her tone softening slightly. But there are a few lab markers we need to monitor. We'll keep her for 24-hour observation. I nodded, holding Ellie tighter, as if letting go would make her disappear. After settling Ellie into a temporary hospital room, Adam and I drove straight to Gloria's house. I had never felt anger like this before. Any sliver of respect I had left for her had been burned to ashes. When we stepped into the living room, Gloria and Emmy were sitting calmly on the sofa, sipping tea. "Oh, Brooklyn, Adam," Gloria said sweetly. "Is everything all right?" I didn't respond. Adam squeezed my hand, then stepped forward and looked his mother straight in the eye. "That blanket? Where did you get it?" he asked, his voice low but firm. Gloria raised her eyebrows like she didn't understand the fuss. "Just an old blanket I got from a friend who used to work at a clinic." "How?" she shrugged. "What's the big deal?" Emmy chimed in with a smirk. "It's just an old blanket, Brooklyn, don't be so dramatic." Adam clenched his fists, his jaw tight. It had a biohazard symbol, medical tracking codes, and biological residue. "Ellie is in the hospital because of you." A heavy silence filled the room. Gloria's face went pale for a moment, then quickly returned to its usual calm expression. "It was just a joke," she muttered. "I wanted to teach Brooklyn a lesson about her arrogance." I stepped forward, my voice ice cold. "By risking your granddaughter's life?" Gloria opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. "We've reported it to the hospital. Biohazard safety is not a joke, Gloria. They're investigating the source of that blanket, and if needed, we will take legal action." Adam stood beside me, his gaze hard. "My family? My daughter's safety? No one crosses that line, not even you." Gloria collapsed onto the couch, her hands trembling. Emmy exhaled sharply, avoiding my eyes. We turned and walked out of that house without a backward glance. On the way home, Adam held my hand in silence. No words were needed. I knew he understood. This time, we would never let anyone cross that line again. The cold fluorescent lights of the hospital room glowed on Ellie's tiny face, tightening the knot in my chest. She lay in a monitored area, with gentle sensors on her tiny fingers tracking her heart rate and oxygen levels. Janet approached, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Brooklyn, the good news is that Ellie still looks fine. No signs of infection or acute reaction," she said reassuringly. "But to be safe, we'll keep her for at least 48 hours and run more extensive tests." I nodded, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. In my world of lab results and medical data, waiting for answers was the hardest part. "Brooklyn," Janet said gently, "about the blanket. We've sent it to the hospital's biohazard control unit. They've launched an internal investigation." Her words cut through me like a winter wind. I clenched my fists, grounding myself. "I'll go with you," Adam said, his eyes sharp with resolve. "We need to know exactly where it came from." An hour later, Adam and I sat in the office of the hospital's biohazard control department. A staff member named Lucas, wearing a crisp white coat, greeted us with a solemn expression. "We've done a preliminary analysis," Lucas began, placing the evidence bag with the blanket on the table. "It tested positive for exposure to medical waste, specifically blood and bodily fluids." I gripped Adam's hand tightly. "We traced the serial codes on the tag," Lucas continued, turning his monitor toward us. "The blanket was property of Desert Valley Medical Center. It was marked for disposal as medical waste nearly 2 years ago, according to their destruction records." Chill washed over me. Desert Valley Medical Center. That's where Gloria once worked as a part-time nurse assistant before retiring. "Are you certain?" Adam asked, his voice strained. "I'm 100%, Lucas confirmed. "We matched internal barcodes and storage data. No mistake." I sat in silence, mind spinning. For some reason, Gloria had taken an item meant for disposal, hidden it away, and turned it into a gift for her grandchild? "We'll be working with the hospital's legal department on the next steps," Lucas added. "In this case, removing and transferring medical materials could be considered a serious violation." Adam squeezed my hand. I saw pain and disappointment in his eyes, alongside a simmering anger. As we left the office, I stood under the hospital awning, staring at the traffic outside, my thoughts blank. The midday sun blazed down, but I felt like I was standing in winter. "Brooklyn," Adam said quietly. "I'm not letting this be swept under the rug." I nodded. "Not just for Ellie, but for us too, Adam." He pulled me into his arms, and for the first time in hours I didn't feel alone in this fight. That afternoon, Janet called us to the chief medical officer's office. I held Ellie, Adam beside me, as we stepped into the sterile, brightly lit room. "Brooklyn," Janet began, "the hospital has officially opened a case. We've also contacted Desert Valley Medical Center. They confirmed that during that time frame some disposal materials went missing. Gloria Taylor had access to their storage area." I hugged Ellie tighter, the weight on my chest growing heavier. "We need to know," Janet paused, "are you willing to cooperate with the hospital in pursuing legal action?" I turned to Adam. In his eyes I saw unwavering determination. "We'll cooperate," I said firmly. Janet nodded. "The next step will be reporting the case to local authorities. Desert Valley Medical Center will also conduct their own internal investigation." That evening, we received a text from Gloria. She wanted to arrange a family meeting to clear the air. The message went out to Adam, me, Emmy, and a few other relatives, like Uncle Rick and Aunt Linda, people who had always stayed on the sidelines of our family's quiet conflicts. I looked at Adam, tension etched into his expression. "We have to go," he said, his voice low. "This time everything needs to come into the light." Before leaving, we asked our neighbor to watch Ellie. I didn't want her to witness anything that might happen tonight. Deep down, I had a strong feeling that after this night, nothing would ever be the same. Gloria's house was lit as usual, but the air around it felt heavier than ever. When we stepped into the living room, everyone had already arrived. Uncle Rick sat with his arms crossed, Aunt Linda sipped tea in small quiet gulps, and Emmy scrolled on her phone, occasionally glancing at us. Gloria stood in the center of the room, hands clasped tightly. For the first time, she didn't carry her usual smug confidence. "Thank you all for coming," Gloria began, her voice dry. "I know, there are some misunderstandings that need to be addressed." Adam folded his arms across his chest, standing tall. "There's no misunderstanding here, Mom," he said bluntly. "That blanket, where did you get it?" Gloria glanced at Emmy, as if hoping for support, but Emmy just shrugged and avoided her gaze. Finally, Gloria sighed, her voice dropping. "I took it from the disposal room at my old hospital. A former coworker asked me to help get rid of some things and I kept it." The room fell into a heavy silence. "And why?" I stepped forward, each step weighed down by fury. "Would you give that to your granddaughter?" Gloria clenched her hands so tightly her nails dug into her palms. "I just wanted to teach Brooklyn a lesson," she blurted. "She's always so smug, always acting like she knows everything about parenting, always going on about medical protocols, organic only, like I'm some idiot." Adam closed his eyes, trying to contain his anger. "So you risked your granddaughter's life to get back at that?" "I didn't know it was going to be that serious," Gloria snapped, then quickly tried to defend herself. "Medical waste gets sterilized before it's destroyed. I was just playing a little prank." "A prank?" Adam nearly shouted. "Do you hear yourself? That was medical waste. Ellie had to get blood tests, had to be hospitalized. A prank?" Uncle Rick shook his head, his face full of disappointment. "Gloria, you crossed a line." Aunt Linda spoke too, for the first time not taking Gloria's side. "We've let a lot slide over the years. But this was a child's life." The room felt suffocating. Emmy stood up abruptly, but instead of defending her mother, she said bitterly, "I'm tired too. Mom always has an excuse. Every time someone doesn't play by her rules, it turns into some twisted lesson." Gloria turned to her, stunned. "Emmy, you're turning on me too?" "I'm not turning," Emmy replied coolly. "I'm just done cleaning up after the messes you make." For the first time, Gloria looked shaken, like she'd been dealt a blow she never expected. Adam stepped forward, his voice low but resolute. "You put Ellie in danger. Brooklyn and I will cooperate with the hospital in legal counsel. If this becomes a criminal case, you'll be held accountable, no exceptions." Gloria collapsed onto the couch, her face pale. The only sounds left were the ticking clock and the heavy breaths of people who once cared for each other, now separated by irreversible cracks. The next morning, as the first light streamed through our window, I was already at the office of the family lawyer Adam had contacted the night before. In my hands were all the documents: Ellie's lab reports, biohazard analysis results, and a transcript of the hospital board meeting. Our attorney, Monica Reed, a sharp, composed woman in her 40s, scanned through the pages. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her eyes narrow slightly when she reached the photos of the blanket marked biohazard. "This is a serious case," Monica said once she finished, "legally and ethically." Adam sat beside me, hands tightly clasped. "We're not looking to blow this up," I said hoarsely. "But we can't let it be swept under the rug either." Monica nodded. "You're completely within your rights. Essentially, there are two options. First, ask the hospital to pursue criminal charges for unauthorized possession and misuse of medical materials. Or, second, file a civil suit for damages and require specific corrective actions." I looked at Adam. We both knew. If this went to court, our family ties would be severed forever. But if we stayed silent, there'd be no guarantee Gloria wouldn't hurt someone else again. "We'll take the second option," Adam said. "But with very clear conditions." Monica offered a supportive smile. "I'll draft a formal agreement. Gloria will be required to 1. Undergo intensive psychological therapy for no less than 6 months. 2. Submit a formal letter of apology to Desert Valley Medical Center and accept any internal disciplinary actions. And 3. Be restricted from seeing Ellie until she's proven a meaningful change, verified by an independent therapist. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. It was the most humane solution possible, but I knew Gloria wouldn't accept it easily. That afternoon, we returned to Gloria's house for a final confrontation. No more avoiding, no more tiptoeing. Emmy, Uncle Rick, and Aunt Linda were all present, undeniable witnesses. Gloria sat hunched on the couch, her eyes weary, the lines on her face seeming to age her by decades. "I was wrong," she said, her voice breaking. "I won't excuse what I did, I'm asking for a chance to make it right." Adam placed the documents on the table, his movements precise. "These are our terms," he said, unwavering. Gloria took them with trembling hands. When she reached the part about being restricted from seeing Ellie until treatment was complete and approved, tears spilled from her eyes. No visits with Ellie," she whispered. I spoke calmly, but with firm resolve. "That's the consequence. Family doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Hurting a child, intentionally or not, has consequences." Emmy, who had always defended her mother, simply nodded this time. "Mom needs real help. No more excuses, no more hiding." After a long pause, Gloria signed the agreement. Her hand shook, the letters uneven but unmistakable. "We'll monitor her treatment closely," Monica said. "Any sign that she's not complying, and the case will be referred to the authorities immediately." Gloria nodded, her worn face sinking under the weight of regret. A year later, a soft April breeze in Scottsdale carried the scent of orange blossoms across my porch. I sat holding Ellie, now a bright, giggling 2-year-old. Every time I saw her healthy and safe, I felt thankful for the hard decisions we had made. Our family life had changed. Slowly but surely. After signing the agreement, Gloria began therapy at a well-known rehabilitation center in the city. Twice a week, like clockwork, she met with specialists to confront the habits and traumas she had long ignored. At first, I didn't expect much. Part of me still doubted her sincerity. But over time, small shifts became clear, then undeniable. Gloria stopped demanding to see Ellie unconditionally. She respected the boundaries we set and patiently waited for supervised visits. For the first time, she listened instead of arguing, apologized instead of deflecting. She began to understand that love couldn't be forced with guilt or manipulation. At one recent visit, Gloria brought Ellie a soft cloth doll, made entirely from certified organic fabric. When I asked, she smiled, a gentleness I had never seen in her before. "Brooklyn," she said softly. "I get it now. Real love isn't shown with flashy gifts or rushed gestures. It's shown through respect." Simple words, but they nearly brought me to tears. As for Emmy, she had her own transformation. After everything that happened, she moved into a small apartment near downtown Phoenix. No longer living in her mother's shadow, Emmy started building a life on her own, pursuing the graphic design career she had long put off. Our relationship began cautiously, but slowly genuine conversations and quiet gestures brought us closer. One night after Ellie had fallen asleep, Emmy stopped by with a small cake she had baked herself. "I know, I've been wrong about a lot," she said, eyes misty. "Thank you for not shutting me out forever." I smiled, saying nothing, and pulled her into a quiet hug. Because sometimes forgiveness doesn't need words. Just a heart, willing to stay open. In the backyard, Adam was setting up a small tent for Ellie. Her laughter rang out in the golden afternoon sun, pure and bright like wind chimes. I stood on the porch, gently resting my hand on my belly, where our second child was growing day by day. Once again, we were preparing to welcome a new life. Adam spotted me and waved. "Brooke, come here. Ellie wants you in the tent." I laughed and carefully stepped down from the porch, my heart light. At the far end of the yard, Gloria sat under the tree, scribbling in her notebook, a peaceful look in her eyes. Emmy was helping Ellie stack plastic cups into a tiny castle. It was a simple scene, but one that spoke volumes. A quiet testament to the effort, the healing of cracks that once seemed impossible to mend. Life is never perfect. Families aren't either. But I've learned that sometimes, all it takes is for each person to take one small step. That's enough to create something extraordinary. I looked up, filling my lungs with the soft floral breeze. Ellie's third birthday fell on a sunny April afternoon, just as the lavender bushes in our backyard burst into bloom, painting the corner of the garden in rich purple. I stood on the porch, hand resting on my full belly, feeling the gentle kicks of our second baby, living proof of our family's journey through hope and healing. Adam was busy decorating the garden while Ellie, in a bright yellow dress like a beam of sunshine, darted around joyfully, calling everyone's name. Her laughter echoed across the lawn, blending with the wind rustling through the trees, creating a melody as simple as it was beautiful. It was a small, cozy party, just close family. My parents, Gloria, Emmy, Uncle Rick, and Aunt Linda arrived early, each bringing a gift. Simple, heartfelt tokens of love. Gloria, dressed in a soft floral dress, approached me with a small hand-wrapped package. "Brooklyn," she said, her voice sincere, "I made a new baby blanket for the little one." This time I followed all the safety instructions. I took the gift, my heart softening. The way she gently raised her hand to shield my eyes from the sun. Such a small gesture, yet filled with the effort to change that I once thought impossible. Across the yard, Emmy was helping Ellie set up the cake table. She was no longer the bitter, cold sister-in-law I once knew. Emmy was now vibrant, kind, and responsible. She had truly found herself, finally free from the weight of old wounds. When everything was ready, Adam carried out a large Elsa-themed cake, Ellie's favorite. Tiny candles sparkled in the fading sunlight. Everyone gathered around, singing happy birthday as applause filled the air. Ellie giggled, her cheeks flushed with excitement. She took a deep breath and blew out all the candles at once, greeted by cheers from every corner. I looked at her, overflowing with pride. A year ago, I nearly lost the chance to witness moments like this because of pain that hadn't yet healed. But today, those who once hurt me were also here, each doing their part to begin again. We didn't erase what happened. No one pretended the past didn't exist. But we learned how to live with it, how to make amends through action, not just words. After the party, I sat alone on the garden bench, golden orange light stretching across the yard. Adam came over and sat beside me, placing a hand on my belly, where the baby stirred gently. "Who do you think the baby will take after?" he asked, a smile glinting in his eyes. I leaned into him, smiling. Both of us, strong and forgiving. We sat there in silence, soaking in one of life's rare quiet moments. Off in the distance, Gloria was helping Ellie pack up her toys, while Emmy carefully folded wrapping paper. The air felt light. No more accusations. No more cold stares. Just people who had once made mistakes, now trying, bit by bit, to move forward. I knew there would still be hard days. There would be times when the past would ache like an old bruise. But I also knew that as long as there was hope and effort, this family, once broken, could be rebuilt, stronger and more beautiful than before. Looking up at the deep blue sky, I whispered a quiet promise to myself. No matter what happens, I will always choose to believe in love, in change, in new beginnings. My story, born from storms I thought I couldn't survive, taught me this. Family isn't perfection. It's effort, forgiveness, and the courage to change. The pain once drove us apart, but facing it with love brought us back together. Real, stronger, and more sincere. Life is never smooth, but with faith in something good, I've built a true home, where love has the final word. What do you think about my family's journey of change? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt and real stories about family, forgiveness, and the strength of love.